Hey, what's up? Eyes open in California here. So I had this dream last night. Today is February 28th. Had a dream that I got an email from a gentleman from Montana who said that he has a property that I can have. And I was like, what? And he said, he has a proper, I emailed back, like, what are you talking about? And he said, I got this big property. You can bring your whole family up and just be done with living out there. Uh, he's done with the property and is leaving the country or something. So I said, okay. So I loaded up the whole family and we went up to Montana. And we arrived in the middle of the night. We were driving up these mountains and we get to this place, big, open up this gate and pull in. And we're like, wow, this place is like really big. It's like a really big compound looking place, all kinds of detached buildings everywhere. It was huge. Like literally, this was an enormous place. And we get there, let's see, and my family went into the main building and they started trying to find some kind of temporary accommodations to sleep for the night. And I went around with my cell phone rebuking demons and reciting the Lord's Prayer. And I went to the very farthest corner of this place, and there was like a downhill underground area that had storage closets, but big. Like this was like a compound of some sort. And I went down into this big old creepy thing in the middle of the night by myself, farthest corner from everybody. And I have my cell phone light and I'm rebuking demons. I'm telling them, in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, get out of here. And then I'm reciting the Lord's Prayer. And I was not afraid at all. And I went back to my family and we went to sleep for the night. The next morning we wake up and my nephew Chris, I guess, was with us. And I looked at him and it was dressed like a World War II paratrooper. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm going to go to school. And he said, this is what he's wearing to school. And I said, I don't really think that's going to go over too well. And he goes, I don't care. This is what I'm wearing to school. And I said, that's a pretty cool uniform. I said, do what you got to do. And that was that. So we were in Montana and he was dressed in a World War II Army paratrooper uniform. Let's see. So then I went out into the backyard, and the backyard was a pretty good sized backyard. And out the back gate, you open up the gate, there's a levee, right? Just a dirt berm. And the top of the levee had a flat plateau, and that area was about 12 inches wide. And I was trying to walk on the levee. I went out the back and I went to the right. And I'm walking down this levee, and I could see that I'm the third house from the lake. So there's two houses in between me and the lake. And there's people fishing off of the levee and people swimming in the lake and canoeing and what have you. Um, so I'm walking and I slipped because it was only like 12 inches. I slipped off to one side. So then I ended up uh, pulling myself along the levee the way a soldier would pull themselves on a rope, right? With one leg kind of flipped around and your foot locking it in. And I was just pulling myself along the levee. And the next scene, I'm looking at these army guys or military guys, and they're shooting at my house, my property. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're shooting at the haunted house or something, or the haunted property. And I said, that's where I live. And they're like, oh. And I said, yeah, somebody just gave it to me. And they're like, good luck, dude. Something to this effect. So now I'm back at the lake and there's people fishing. And I'm talking to a lady and I asked her if she knew anything about the Lord. And she was like, yeah, well, I don't really know too much, but I started explaining to her about the rapture, and I started explaining to her how the Lord is going to open up a portal, crack the sky, and whoop, get his church out of here before tribulation starts. And she wanted to know more about it. And so I told her I live in that house right there, and she was like, "Ooh, that house," and I was like, "It's haunted, huh?" She goes, "Yeah, there's something going on with it." And I said, "Well, we can rebuke demons and spirits, so we'll see if we could get it all cleared." Um, and then we started walking back to tour the place. She wanted to see it because I guess wanted to see what all the hype was all about. Um, so the main building of this place was a long, skinny, not skinny, it was a super long building, and it had a long hallway and all the rooms. If you were walking, remember how I told you I went to the right out in the backyard towards the lake? Well, if you start at the far left side of the property and you go to the right, that's how I'm going to describe it. So there's a long hallway and all the rooms are to the left. And there's like the kitchen area, whatever. And then I get to where my boy's room is going to be. And there's two doors. The door on the left goes to a walk-through closet, really long closet. It's a walk-through. And then that room is shaped like an L. And the other door connects it. So you could walk through the door on the right to get into the room, and it's shaped like an L. And then you make a left turn and you get to that closet. There's two doors go into the same room, right? One's a walk-through closet. The room next door is a room that has a really, really odd shape. And I saw this thing clear as day. So I'm gonna draw it. So the next room looked like this. Here's the door. So here's where my boy's room was, right? He had one door right here, and one door right here. And this was the L shape. And this was the closet, another door. The room next door looked like this. And it had some kind of a closet or something right here. And there was a sink over here. And I walked in and it had a big window right there. And you look out the back window, you're looking at the levee, and that way on the levee went to the lake. So I walked in this room here, and the first thing I said to this lady was, I saw this sink in the corner. I said, this room looks like an old science classroom. And I looked out the back window, and the property line was like right here or something. And I seen that the neighbor had a chain link fence right here, like a dog kennel. But inside this thing was an animal that I've never seen before. The animal, it looked like a mountain lion at first. Had claws like a lion, but it was walking. And I was like, what in the freak? And it had feathers. And the only thing I can liken it to is like a griffin. It was like a griffin, because I looked out the window and I looked at the lake and the swimming hole, and I was like, oh, that's cool. The kids can go swimming there, and I don't really have to do too much to keep my eye on them. I was up too. I was like on the second story. And I said, the kids can go swimming. I don't have to worry about them. I can see them from here. And I looked down and I was like, what kind of freaking creature is that? I said, the neighbor's got an exotic animal. That's what I said, an exotic animal. And I looked, and it had claws like a mountain lion, and a head like a bird, and feathers. And it was walking around in the enclosure. And I was like, what in the world is that? It literally looked like a griffin. Me and my wife even got up and looked online at what a griffin looks like. And that's pretty much what it looked like, except it didn't have these big old wings. I'm not sure if its wings were retracted or they were baby wings or what was going on with that, but looked like the neighbor had a griffin. So that was the end of the dream. So we have, the place ended up, it has to be like an old abandoned school that somebody bought and tried to convert it into their house, and somehow it was haunted, right? And it was somewhere on a hill, and there was a lake behind it, had a little small levee behind it, and the levee wasn't very big neither. It was maybe 6 feet tall, 8 feet tall. It wasn't a big old huge levee. And the plateau of it, or as it came up, it was only 12 inches wide on top. So one person can walk, people could walk single file line on top of the levee to the lake. but you could not walk side by side, is what I'm saying. So mid-Montana, somewhere by a lake type of community, where we seem to be higher up in the mountains. I'm living at this old, creepy, abandoned school, as it turns out, probably an abandoned school campus. It's haunted. And my nephew was dressed like a World War II Army paratrooper. So that's my dream. And just to give you my thoughts on it, I would say that Montana, somewhere by that location, is going to be an invasion point where a foreign military is going to drop their paratroopers to gain a foothold into our country from the north. That's pretty much what I think that means. And I'm pretty sure that campus, that school campus, exists. And I'm pretty sure it's next to a lake community. And oh, there was one more detail. As we were walking back, me and that lady from the lake, she was explaining to me that the property line isn't right. And the neighbor, the second house from the lake, I'm the third house from the lake. The second house from the lake was entitled to more land, but they didn't want nothing to do with that land. They were like, no, I don't care. I don't care if I'm entitled to, I want to say it was 30 more feet worth of land, plus whatever the width is. And they were like, I don't want it. So whatever happened at this campus, it was haunted, like super haunted, and everybody was creeped out by it. So there's a school, 3 places or whatever from a lake community, high up in the mountains in Montana. And that somewhere around there is going to be an invasion point of where foreign military is going to drop their paratroopers. So that's what I got out of it. So anywho, eyes open in California. I'm going to leave this video private for, obvious reasons. But if something happens, then I'll have to change the status. So thank you. God bless you. And pretty sure Montana is going to be the spot where they drop their paratroopers.